Picture a realm untouched by human hands, where the air hangs heavy with mist and the dense canopy of ancient forests conceals secrets millions of years old. This is not a place of fantasy, but a genuine fragment of Earth's distant past, a land where the boundaries between the known and the unknown blur beneath a shroud of fog. Here, on a wild and isolated island, nature's rules were rewritten. The landscape is rugged, carved by time and the relentless forces of wind and water, its greenery so dense that sunlight barely touches the forest floor. Our journey takes us back 66 million years to what is now Romania, a land that, in the late Cretaceous, was transformed into a patchwork of islands adrift in a primeval sea. In this era, much of Europe was submerged beneath the warm, shallow waters of the Tethys Sea. Only scattered islands, like emerald jewels, broke the surface, each one a world apart. Among these, Hateg Island stood alone, a remote sanctuary, isolated by endless stretches of water, its ecosystem evolving in splendid isolation. The forests here were thick with strange and exotic plants, their forms unfamiliar to modern eyes. Ferns and towering cycads crowded the undergrowth, while ancient conifers stretched skyward, their branches entwined in perpetual twilight. Shadows moved beneath the canopy, hinting at the presence of something formidable. The air was thick with tension, as if the land itself was holding its breath, waiting for a predator to emerge from the gloom. Dominating this mysterious world was Hatzegopteryx thambema, a creature whose very name, Hateg bison wing monster, evokes awe and dread. Hatzegopteryx belonged to the Ajdarchids, a family of colossal flying reptiles that soared above the Cretaceous world. Yet, even among these giants, it was an anomaly, its presence casting a long shadow over the land. Unlike its more slender relatives, such as the elegant Quetzalcoatlus, Hatzegopteryx was built for power. Its body was robust, its proportions intimidating. A creature designed not for grace, but for dominance. On the ground, it moved with a predatory confidence, stalking the forest floor as a terrestrial hunter. Every step was a reminder of its supremacy. Here in this isolated ecosystem, Hatzegopteryx claimed the role of apex predator, an unrivaled force at the top of the food chain, shaping the fate of every creature beneath its gaze. Today, we embark on a quest to unravel the mysteries of this extraordinary animal, piecing together its story from the silent testimony of ancient bones. We will journey through the ever-changing landscapes of Hateg Island, tracing the evolutionary pressures that forged such a singular predator. We will examine its anatomy in detail, its massive, crushing jaws, the reinforced architecture of its neck, and the delicate balance of strength and lightness in its bones, all adaptations honed for survival and conquest. Imagine the silent approach of this giant as it hunted, its movements both calculated and swift, a living nightmare for any creature that crossed its path. Hatzegopteryx was a marvel of evolution, a flying animal that defied expectations, its very existence a testament to the power and unpredictability of nature. But to truly understand this beast, we must first immerse ourselves in the world it ruled, a kingdom of dense forests, winding rivers, and perpetual mystery. Hateg Island itself was immense, spanning nearly 80,000 square kilometers, its wild expanse rivaling the size of modern Hispaniola, yet far more enigmatic. Its forests teemed with life, from the smallest insects to the most imposing reptiles, all woven together in a complex web of survival and adaptation. Yet the island's isolation was absolute. Cut off from the mainland, its inhabitants faced challenges unknown elsewhere. Forced to adapt in ways both ingenious and strange, every species here was shaped by this crucible of isolation, evolving new forms and behaviors to survive in a world apart. In this natural laboratory, evolution ran wild, producing a cast of creatures found nowhere else on Earth. And from this mysterious, ever-changing world, the legend of Hatzegopteryx, the island of death's greatest terror, was born. Hidden in the heart of prehistoric Europe, Hatzeg Island was a world apart, a secluded realm where evolution took a path unlike anywhere else on Earth. Isolated by vast shallow seas, this island was a living laboratory, its boundaries shaping the destiny of every creature within. While the great continents teemed with giants, Hatzeg's isolation forced its inhabitants to adapt in extraordinary ways. Here, the rules of survival were rewritten by scarcity, space, and the relentless pressure of limited resources. On the mainland, sauropods like Dinosaurs towered above the landscape, their immense size a shield against predators. But on Hatzeg, such enormity was unsustainable. The island's forests and plains could not provide enough food for giants. Instead, evolution favored the small and the efficient. Over countless generations, the phenomenon of insular dwarfism transformed the island's dinosaurs, shrinking them to sizes that matched their environment. Magyarosaurus, once a descendant of the colossal mainland titans, became a compact, agile herbivore. Its sturdy legs and lighter frame allowed it to navigate dense forests and steep hillsides in search of food. Unlike its ancestors, Magyarosaurus rarely exceeded the size of a modern bison. Its bones were hollowed and reinforced, a perfect balance of strength and lightness, enabling it to thrive where resources were scarce. This remarkable adaptation was not unique. Telmatosaurus, a hadrosaur that elsewhere might have reached enormous lengths, was similarly reduced. On Hatzeg it measured just 5 meters from snout to tail, its body streamlined for life in the tangled undergrowth. These miniature herds moved quietly through the forests, their senses keen, their movements cautious. Every adaptation was a response to the island's constraints. Smaller size meant less food required and greater agility in a world of obstacles. The ecosystem itself was a tapestry of unique life. Ancient conifers, cycads and ferns dominated the landscape, while shallow lakes and meandering rivers provided refuge for amphibians and early mammals. Insects flourished, pollinating the lush flora and serving as food for a host of small reptiles and birds. Notably, Hatzeg was devoid of the massive theropod predators that ruled other lands. There were no towering tyrannosaurs or swift dromaeosaurs lurking in the shadows. The apex predator niche was conspicuously empty. This absence of large carnivores created a unique ecological vacuum. Without the constant threat of predation, herbivores could afford to be less vigilant, and smaller animals flourished in the safety of the undergrowth. Yet, nature never leaves a void unfilled. In this lost world, opportunity beckoned for any creature able to rise to the challenge of becoming the island's top predator. It was here that Hatzegopteryx emerged, a pterosaur unlike any other. With a wingspan rivaling the length of a small aircraft and a skull built for crushing bone, it was perfectly adapted to dominate this miniature world. Hatzegopteryx's immense size was an anomaly in a land of dwarfs. Its powerful jaws and robust neck allowed it to prey on the island's smaller dinosaurs, filling the role of apex predator with ruthless efficiency. While most animals shrank, some, like Hatzegopteryx and certain reptiles, grew larger than their mainland relatives, a phenomenon known as island gigantism. Freed from the threat of large predators, these species could exploit new niches and resources. The result was an ecosystem of extremes, dwarfed giants, giant dwarfs, and a delicate balance maintained by the unique pressures of island life. On Hatzeg, the natural order was upended. Here it was not the dinosaurs that hunted the pterosaurs, but a pterosaur that hunted the dinosaurs, a testament to the island's power to reshape life in the most unexpected ways. This lost world of dwarfs stands as one of evolution's most remarkable experiments, a place where isolation, scarcity, and opportunity combined to create a living paradox, and where the extraordinary became the rule. Gap 2s. Beneath the shadow of ancient conifers and the broad fronds of cycads, Hatzeg Island's ecosystem pulsed with a delicate, unseen rhythm, a web of life woven by countless interactions between plants, animals, and the ever-shifting forces of climate. Here, Every species, from the smallest insect to the towering Hatzegopteryx, played a role in maintaining the island's fragile balance. The climate of Hateg was temperate and humid, shaped by the surrounding Tethys Sea. Warm breezes brought frequent rainfall, nurturing lush forests and open wetlands. Seasonal floods replenished the rivers, while drier months turned shallow lakes into mudflats, concentrating life around dwindling water sources. These cycles dictated the abundance of food and the movement of animals across the landscape. At the base of the food web, ancient ferns, horsetails, and primitive flowering plants captured the sun's energy, forming dense undergrowth. Towering conifers provided shelter and nesting sites, while cycads and ginkgos offered tough, nutrient-rich leaves. Insects, beetles, dragonflies, and early butterflies buzzed among the plants, pollinating flowers and feeding on decaying wood. These tiny creatures were themselves a crucial food source, supporting a teeming population of amphibians, small reptiles, and early mammals. The herbivorous dinosaurs, such as Magyarosaurus and Telmatosaurus, grazed and browsed in herds, dispersing seeds and shaping the vegetation through their constant feeding. Their dung nourished the soil, fueling the next generation of plant life. Smaller reptiles and birds flitted through the canopy, snatching insects and spreading pollen, while amphibians lurked in the damp leaf litter, preying on worms and larvae. Predatory niches were filled in unexpected ways. With no large theropods, mid-sized reptiles and crocodiliforms hunted along riverbanks, ambushing fish, amphibians, and the occasional unwary mammal. In the air, smaller pterosaurs snatched insects on the wing, while larger species patrolled the skies for carrion or vulnerable prey. Yet it was the interactions, predator and prey, competition and cooperation, that defined the ecosystem's dynamics. During dry spells, animals congregated at shrinking waterholes, leading to tense standoffs and opportunistic predation. In wetter seasons, the abundance of insects led to population booms among small mammals and birds, which in turn attracted more predators. Nutrient cycles were tightly interwoven. Fallen leaves and dead animals decomposed rapidly in the warm, moist soil, releasing vital minerals back into the ecosystem. Fungi and bacteria, invisible to the naked eye, broke down organic matter, ensuring nothing was wasted. Every organism, no matter how small, had a part to play. A single drought or a shift in sea level could tip the balance, triggering cascading changes throughout the web. The absence of large carnivores allowed herbivores to flourish, but also made the ecosystem sensitive to the rise of new predators, setting the stage for the emergence of giants like Hatzegopteryx. On Hateg Island, survival was a matter of adaptation, cooperation, and timing. The food web was a living tapestry, intricate and ever-changing, held together by the constant interplay of life, death, and the relentless march of time. In the absence of large terrestrial predators, Hatzeg Island became a crucible for evolutionary innovation. Here, the ecosystem was a patchwork of dense forests, open fern prairies and winding river valleys, all teeming with dwarf dinosaurs and other unique island fauna. Into this world, a new contender emerged, one that would forever alter the balance of power. The Ajdachid pterosaurs, already masters of the skies above the Tethys Sea, found themselves on Hateg with little aerial competition. On the mainland, their diet was limited to small prey, fish, lizards, and hatchling dinosaurs. But the island's isolation presented a rare evolutionary opportunity. Over generations, a lineage of Ajdarchids began to exploit the vacant terrestrial niche. They spent increasing amounts of time on the ground, their anatomy gradually shifting to favor powerful, weight-bearing limbs and a robust frame. This adaptation allowed them to stalk prey through the undergrowth and across open clearings, filling the void left by absent theropods. The evolutionary transformation was dramatic. Hatzegopteryx, the largest of these island pterosaurs, became a formidable terrestrial predator. Its body grew heavier and more muscular, with reinforced bones and a thick, powerful neck capable of subduing struggling prey. Unlike its more gracile relatives, Hatzegopteryx was built for strength rather than speed or agility in flight. Its physique was a testament to the raw power required to dominate the island's terrestrial food web. When standing on all fours, Hatzegopteryx's shoulders reached the height of a grown man. When it reared up, it rivaled the tallest creatures of its time, standing nearly 5 meters high, an imposing figure among the island's dwarfed inhabitants. This towering stature gave it a strategic advantage. From its elevated vantage point, Hatzegopteryx could survey vast stretches of the landscape, detecting the slightest movement of potential prey among the ferns and cycads. Its presence alone cast a shadow of fear across the island. The sheer bulk and power of Hatzegopteryx made it an unmistakable force, one that few animals dared to challenge. Despite its terrestrial adaptations, Hatzegopteryx retained the ability to fly. Its wingspan, estimated at 10 to 12 meters, rivaled that of a modern fighter jet, allowing it to traverse the island or escape danger with a few powerful beats. The sight of this giant gliding silently overhead would have been both awe-inspiring and terrifying to the island's smaller inhabitants. Weighing between 250 and 300 kilograms, Hatzegopteryx was a heavyweight among pterosaurs. Its mass was supported by a dense, muscular frame, perfectly suited for overpowering prey and defending its territory. This immense strength allowed it to tackle prey nearly its own size, including dwarf hadrosaurs and juvenile titanosaurs. Its dominance was enforced not just by size, but by a willingness to confront and drive off any would-be competitors. The anatomy of Hatzegopteryx was specialized for subduing and consuming large prey. Its powerful neck and jaws could deliver crushing bites, while its forelimbs anchored it firmly to the ground during a struggle. As the apex predator, Hatzegopteryx shaped the behavior and evolution of every other animal on the island. Its presence influenced the movement patterns, nesting sites, and even the size of the island's herbivores. The unique conditions of Hateg, abundant prey, lack of large carnivores, and a dynamic landscape, created the perfect environment for this evolutionary experiment. Hatzegopteryx was the product of both opportunity and necessity, a lineage that adapted beyond the limits of its ancestors. This remarkable animal blurred the line between ground-dwelling hunter and aerial giant. It could stalk prey with stealth and power, then take to the skies to patrol its vast domain or escape danger. In every sense, Hatzegopteryx was the undisputed tyrant of Hateg Island, a flying monster whose reign was forged by isolation, adaptation, and the relentless pressures of evolution. Its story is a testament to the extraordinary paths life can take when given the freedom to innovate. Gap to twos. The story of Hatzegopteryx's reign might have remained forever buried if not for the painstaking work of paleontologists on the windswept plains of Transylvania. In the late 20th century, fragments of colossal bones began to surface from the sedimentary layers of the Hateg Basin. Bones so massive and unusual they defied easy classification. At first, these fossilized remains were mistaken for those of giant theropod dinosaurs, but closer inspection revealed features unlike any terrestrial predator: hollow, air-filled structures, and walls far thinner than those of typical dinosaur bones. The fragments included parts of a jaw, sections of limb bones, and pieces of the skull roof, each embedded in ancient river deposits and encased in rock hardened by millions of years. Excavating these fossils required precision and patience. Teams used a combination of hand tools, chisels, brushes, and dental picks to free the delicate bones from their stony matrix. Every movement was calculated to prevent splintering the fragile material. Field jackets made from plaster and burlap were carefully wrapped around exposed specimens, allowing safe transport to laboratories where the slow process of preparation could continue. Back in the lab, scientists employed microscribes and air abrasives to remove the remaining rock, revealing the intricate internal structure of each bone. High-resolution CT scanning became a crucial tool, allowing researchers to visualize the labyrinth of air chambers and trabeculae hidden within. These scans confirmed what field observations suggested. This was not a dinosaur, but a giant Hatzegopteryx pterosaur with adaptations unique among its kind. Each fossil fragment offered a new clue. The thickness and density of the jawbone, for example, were unlike those of any known pterosaur, hinting at a creature built for crushing and subduing large prey. Measurements of the limb bones suggested an animal with a wingspan exceeding 10 meters, while the robust vertebrae indicated a neck capable of supporting a massive head. Comparative analysis with other Hatzegopteryx fossils from around the world helped build a clearer picture. Hatzegopteryx stood out for its sheer size and strength, but also for the unique proportions of its bones. The findings challenged previous assumptions about pterosaur diversity and behavior, revealing a lineage that had pushed the boundaries of flight and terrestrial predation. Through these discoveries, scientists reconstructed not just the skeleton, but the life history of Hatzegopteryx. Isotopic analysis of the fossilized bones provided insights into the animal's growth rates and diet, confirming its role as an apex predator. The sedimentary context of the fossils, river channels, floodplains, and forested wetlands helped paleontologists piece together the ancient environments in which this giant once hunted. The unearthing of Hatzegopteryx is a testament to the power of scientific investigation, revealing the hidden giants that once ruled the Island of Death. Each fossil, meticulously excavated and analyzed, brings us closer to understanding the extraordinary adaptations and evolutionary pathways of this prehistoric monster. To understand the true power of Hatzegopteryx, we must examine its anatomy in extraordinary detail. This was a flying predator weighing over 300 kilograms, yet it soared through the skies and stalked the land with astonishing agility. Achieving this required a skeleton that was not only massive and robust, but also ingeniously engineered for both strength and lightness. The challenge for any giant flying animal is to balance the need for a lightweight frame with the demands of supporting immense muscle mass and withstanding the stresses of flight and predation. Hatzegopteryx evolved a solution that is a marvel of natural engineering. Its bones, though enormous, were highly pneumatic, filled with air spaces that drastically reduced their weight without sacrificing strength. The outer walls of these bones were remarkably thin, sometimes just a few millimeters thick, yet the internal architecture was anything but simple. The thinness of the bone walls minimized weight, but the real secret lay within, a dense, intricate network of trabeculae, tiny, bony struts that formed a latticework inside each bone. These trabeculae were arranged in spiraling, crisscrossing patterns, creating an internal scaffolding that distributed stress and provided exceptional rigidity. This design allowed the bones to resist bending and compression, making them far stronger than their delicate appearance would suggest. The internal spongy structure, similar to the honeycomb patterns found in modern aerospace materials, maximized strength while keeping mass to a minimum. This biomechanical brilliance is echoed in the design of aircraft wings and lightweight engineering today. But Hatzegopteryx achieved it through millions of years of evolution. The spiral arrangement of the trabeculae provided multidirectional support, allowing the bones to absorb impacts from both flight and terrestrial hunting. In addition to its skeletal adaptations, Hatzegopteryx possessed a highly specialized muscle system. Its flight muscles, anchored to a massive and reinforced shoulder girdle, were among the most powerful of any known pterosaur. The shoulder girdle itself was a fortress of bone, designed to anchor the enormous pectoral muscles required for both launching into the air and propelling the animal during flight. The forelimbs, forming the main structure of the wings, were exceptionally thick and reinforced, supporting the attachment of massive flight muscles and tendons. Hatzegopteryx's respiratory system was deeply integrated with its skeleton. Like modern birds, it possessed a network of air sacs connected to its lungs, extending into the hollow spaces of its bones. This pneumatic system filled much of its internal volume with air, further reducing weight and increasing respiratory efficiency. The result was a creature with a skeleton that was both incredibly light and astonishingly strong, capable of withstanding the forces of takeoff, sustained flight, and the violent impacts of predation. The highly efficient respiratory system supplied vast amounts of oxygen to its powerful muscles, fueling both flight and bursts of speed on the ground. Hatzegopteryx's overall body plan was uniquely adapted for a dual lifestyle, master of the air and a formidable terrestrial predator. Its shoulder girdle was not only robust, but also shaped to allow a wide range of motion, supporting both the downstroke of flight and the powerful stride of walking. The forelimbs, forming the main structure of the wings, were thick and muscular, while the hind limbs were relatively smaller but still strong, supporting the animal's weight during terrestrial locomotion. Unlike many other flying animals, Hatzegopteryx was not awkward on land. It moved with a confident, upright gait, using its folded wing arms as powerful front limbs. This quadrupedal stance allowed it to cover vast distances efficiently, stalking prey with both speed and stealth. Every aspect of its anatomy, from the microscopic structure of its bones to the arrangement of its muscles and the integration of its respiratory system, was optimized for dominance, making Hatzegopteryx one of the most formidable predators of its time. The most terrifying feature of Hatzegopteryx was undoubtedly its head, a biomechanical marvel, engineered by evolution for raw power and efficiency. The skull was absolutely enormous, measuring up to 3 meters long, dwarfing the heads of nearly all other terrestrial predators of its time. To put that in perspective, this skull exceeded the length of most family cars, and its sheer mass would have required extraordinary adaptations to support and wield effectively. Proportional to its body, Hatzegopteryx possessed one of the largest heads of any known animal, fossil or living, a trait that set it apart from all other pterosaurs. But the skull was not just long, it was also remarkably wide and robust, with reinforced bone struts and thickened jaws that could withstand tremendous forces. At the jaw joint, the skull measured about 50 centimeters across, providing a broad platform for muscle attachment and leverage. Unlike the slender, tweezer-like beaks of its ajdarchid relatives, the beak of Hatzegopteryx was a broad, crushing implement, less a precision tool, more a bludgeoning weapon. In biomechanical terms, this beak functioned much like a giant, sharpened sledgehammer, capable of delivering devastating blows with pinpoint accuracy. Supporting this colossal head was a neck that was equally impressive and in many ways even more unusual. Most ajdarchids, such as Quetzalcoatlus, had long, slender necks, ideal for snatching small prey from a distance. Hatzegopteryx, however, broke the mold entirely. Its neck was proportionally much shorter and incredibly thick, estimated to be about 3 times wider than that of its similarly sized relatives, a radical departure from the norm. The cervical vertebrae, the bones of the neck, were massive and heavily reinforced with expanded muscle attachment sites and interlocking processes for added stability. Internally, these vertebrae were filled with a spongy network of bone trabeculae, a structure that combined lightweight construction with exceptional strength, much like the internal bracing of a steel bridge. This unique combination of a massive, broad head and a short, muscular neck points directly to its specialized hunting strategy and feeding biomechanics. Hatzegopteryx was not an animal that delicately picked at its food. Its entire skull and neck assembly was built to withstand and deliver immense impact forces. Biomechanical simulations suggest that the reinforced skull and neck could absorb and transmit the shock of repeated high-velocity strikes without catastrophic failure. Paleontologists believe that Hatzegopteryx used its head as a battering ram, swinging its massive beak downward in a powerful arc to stun or kill prey. The short, thick neck acted as a shock absorber, dissipating the energy of each blow and preventing injury to the animal itself. This hunting technique would have been especially effective against the dwarf dinosaurs of Hateg Island, such as Magyarosaurus, which were small enough to be overpowered by a single crushing strike. The force of such a blow could easily crush the spine or skull of a cow-sized animal, rendering it instantly incapacitated. Once the prey was down, the enormous gape of Hatzegopteryx's jaw came into play. Its mouth could open up to 50 centimeters wide, and the expandable throat pouch, similar to that of a modern pelican, allowed it to swallow large chunks of flesh, or even whole animals. For smaller prey, such as juvenile dinosaurs or other island creatures, Hatzegopteryx likely employed a rapid peck-and-swallow tactic, using its powerful beak to snatch and ingest victims whole. The robust construction of its feeding apparatus ensured that once a kill was made, nothing went to waste. Bones, flesh, and even smaller prey could be consumed with terrifying efficiency. This combination of biomechanical innovation, an immense reinforced skull, a steel-like neck, and a highly specialized feeding strategy, cemented Hatzegopteryx's position as the apex predator of its ecosystem. Every aspect of its anatomy, from the microstructure of its bones to the mechanics of its bite, reveals a creature perfectly adapted for domination through brute force and precision. In the prehistoric world of Hateg Island, Hatzegopteryx was not just a flying monster. It was a living sledgehammer, a master of impact predation, and a testament to the power of evolutionary innovation. Yap 3s. On Hateg Island, survival was a daily negotiation, an intricate dance between predator and prey, with every creature adapting to the unique pressures of isolation. While Hatzegopteryx reigned as the apex predator, its world was far from empty. The island teemed with a cast of remarkable animals, each shaped by the constraints of insular life and the omnipresent threat posed by the giant pterosaur. The most iconic of its prey was Magyarosaurus, a dwarf sauropod barely the size of a modern cow. Unlike their gigantic mainland relatives, these sauropods had evolved reduced body sizes, a classic case of island dwarfism. Their compact stature made them more agile, better suited to navigating the dense understory and limited resources of Hateg. Thick columnar limbs provided stability in the uneven terrain, while a reinforced vertebral column may have offered additional protection against attacks from above. Herding behaviors, inferred from fossil trackways, suggest that Magyarosaurus relied on group vigilance, with individuals alerting one another to potential danger. But even these strategies could only mitigate, not eliminate, the risk of predation from Hatzegopteryx. Alongside them roamed the nimble Telmatosaurus, a hadrosaur adapted for both browsing and speed. Its elongated hind limbs and lightweight frame allowed for rapid bursts of flight through the tangled vegetation, while a keen sense of hearing helped it detect the subtle approach of predators. Juvenile Telmatosaurus, in particular, were vulnerable, and their high-pitched distress calls may have triggered defensive group responses, with adults forming protective barriers around the young. Smaller still were the island's ornithopods, such as Zalmoxes, quick, bipedal herbivores with sharp senses and cryptic coloration. Their mottled scales blended seamlessly with the dappled sunlight of the forest floor, and their agility allowed them to dart into thickets at the first sign of danger. Zalmoxes relied on a combination of stealth, speed, and intricate knowledge of their environment to evade not only Hatzegopteryx but also other predators. Though Hatzegopteryx dominated the food web, it was not the island's only carnivore. The agile dromaeosaurid Balaur stalked the undergrowth, its double sickle claws and robust build hinting at a predatory lifestyle focused on smaller prey. Balaur's compact size and powerful legs made it a formidable hunter in close quarters, and it may have competed with juvenile Hatzegopteryx for access to carcasses or small vertebrates. Interactions between these predators were likely tense and opportunistic. While the giant pterosaur could easily drive Balor from a kill, the smaller carnivore's agility gave it an edge in pursuing prey through dense vegetation. Even the skies and rivers harbored their own cast of survivors. Early birds, small lizards, and turtles thrived in the island's lakes and wetlands, each occupying a niche insulated from the threat of the ground-stalking giant. However, the shadow of Hatzegopteryx reached far. Its opportunistic feeding meant that no creature, regardless of size, was entirely safe. Competition for resources was fierce, especially during dry spells or after storms, when carcasses became rare. Scavengers like small mammals and crocodiliforms would descend upon any remains left behind by the pterosaur, picking the bones clean in a matter of hours. This relentless cycle of predation and scavenging created a dynamic ecosystem where every adaptation, be it armor, speed, camouflage, or cunning, was a direct response to the ever-present threat from above. In this world, every life was shaped by the presence of Hatzegopteryx. Its predatory dominance forced prey to evolve new defenses and rivals to carve out specialized roles. The result was an ecosystem in delicate balance, a living laboratory of evolutionary innovation, all unfolding in the shadow of the island's greatest terror. Unlike many other pterosaurs that spent most of their lives soaring above coastlines or skimming over lakes, Hatzegopteryx was a true anomaly, a pterosaur that had adapted to a terrestrial, ground-based lifestyle. On the isolated Hateg Island, it became a dominant force, stalking the land with a presence that shaped the entire ecosystem. As a terrestrial stalker, Hatzegopteryx exploited the dense forests, fern prairies, and open clearings of its island home. Its hunting strategy was a direct response to the unique environment, an environment where prey was often smaller, more elusive, and adapted to the constraints of island life. Towering as tall as a modern giraffe, Hatzegopteryx's height was not just for intimidation, it provided a crucial vantage point, allowing the predator to scan vast stretches of undergrowth and open terrain for the slightest movement. Remaining perfectly still among the ferns and cycads, it could blend into the dappled light, its elongated neck and massive head rising above the vegetation like a living periscope. This gave it the ability to monitor herds and single out vulnerable individuals without revealing its presence. Its primary prey included dwarf sauropods such as Magyarosaurus, hadrosaurs, and even smaller ornithopods. These animals, themselves products of island dwarfism, were still formidable, but Hatzegopteryx's keen eyesight and elevated perspective gave it a decisive edge. Patient and calculating, Hatzegopteryx would observe herds for extended periods, identifying the weak, the young, or the distracted. Its intelligence and patience were as much a part of its arsenal as its physical power. When the moment was right, it would begin its approach, silent, measured, and relentless. The stalk was a test of both endurance and precision, as the predator navigated the tangled undergrowth and shifting shadows. Hatzegopteryx moved on all fours, its robust forelimbs supporting much of its weight, while its smaller hind legs provided balance and agility. This quadrupedal gait was surprisingly efficient, allowing it to cover ground with minimal noise and maximum stability. Contrary to outdated depictions of giant pterosaurs as awkward on land, Hatzegopteryx's stride was smooth and purposeful. Its limb proportions and musculature were finely tuned for terrestrial locomotion, enabling it to maneuver through complex terrain with ease. Its movement was reminiscent of a giant stork or a tiger, deliberate, confident, and always predatory. Each step was calculated to minimize sound and maximize the element of surprise. The feet of Hatzegopteryx were likely broad and padded, adaptations that distributed its considerable weight and muffled its footsteps. This allowed it to approach prey with a level of stealth rare among such large terrestrial predators. The forests, fern prairies, and open glades of Hateg Island were its domain. Here Hatzegopteryx was not just a hunter, but a keystone species, its presence influencing the behavior and distribution of every other large animal on the island. The culmination of the hunt was a sudden, explosive burst of speed and power. In a matter of seconds, the predator would close the gap, unleashing a terrifying display of strength. With a final, calculated lunge, Hatzegopteryx would launch itself at its chosen victim, using its momentum and mass to overwhelm even the largest prey. Its primary weapon was its immense reinforced beak, a tool capable of delivering a devastating hammer blow. The beak's structure, combined with the animal's powerful neck, made it a lethal instrument for dispatching prey. With a single forceful strike, Hatzegopteryx could drive its 3-meter-long head downward, targeting the neck or skull of its prey with surgical precision. The force was enough to break bone and sever vital structures instantly. This method ensured a swift kill, minimizing the risk of injury to the predator and reducing the chance of a prolonged struggle that could attract other scavengers. For prey like Magyarosaurus, which weighed nearly a ton, this was the only practical way for Hatzegopteryx to subdue such formidable animals. The efficiency of this hunting style allowed it to dominate the island's food web. Yet Hatzegopteryx was not limited to large game. Its opportunistic nature meant it would also hunt smaller dinosaurs, reptiles, and even large invertebrates, adapting its tactics to suit the size and behavior of its quarry. Scavenging was another crucial aspect of its survival. The harsh realities of island life meant that no meal could be wasted, and Hatzegopteryx was well equipped to exploit any available carcass. Its sheer size and strength allowed it to dominate feeding sites, driving off smaller carnivores and scavengers with ease. This competitive advantage ensured it had first access to the richest portions of any kill. Its formidable beak could tear through flesh and crush bone, extracting nutrients inaccessible to less powerful animals. This ability to process tough, nutrient-rich material further cemented its role at the top of the food chain. Through a combination of ground-stalking predation, opportunistic hunting, and aggressive scavenging, Hatzegopteryx exerted a profound ecological impact. It regulated prey populations, influenced the behavior of other predators, and maintained the balance of its insular ecosystem. As the undisputed apex predator of Hateg Island, its reign was both brutal and essential, shaping the evolutionary path of every creature within its domain. For decades, the question of how Hatzegopteryx, a creature with a wingspan rivaling a small aircraft and a mass approaching 300 kilograms, could ever achieve flight, perplexed paleontologists and biomechanists alike. The sheer scale of this animal seemed to defy the very principles of flight as understood from modern birds and bats. Unlike today's birds, which are constrained by the limitations of bipedal launch, Hatzegopteryx evolved a radically different strategy. Modern avian species, even the largest, are limited in size because they must rely on their hind limbs to generate the initial thrust for takeoff. This method, while effective for smaller animals, imposes a strict upper limit on body mass. In birds, the takeoff sequence involves a powerful jump followed by rapid wing beats. The energy for this leap is generated almost entirely by the hind limbs, with the wings providing additional lift and acceleration. However, biomechanical simulations indicate that this bipedal launch is only feasible for animals weighing up to 70 kilograms at most. Hatzegopteryx, with its immense size, far exceeded this threshold. Its hind limbs, while strong, were proportionally smaller and less muscular than those of birds, making a traditional bipedal launch physically impossible. Instead, this pterosaur relied on a unique adaptation, the Quadrupedal Vault. The Quadrupedal Vault is a biomechanical marvel. Hatzegopteryx would begin by crouching low to the ground, folding its wings tightly against its body. Its massive forelimbs, which doubled as both wings and powerful front legs, bore the majority of its weight. This posture allowed the animal to preload its muscles, storing elastic energy much like a compressed spring. When ready, Hatzegopteryx would unleash this stored energy in a single, explosive movement. The forelimbs, powered by an extraordinary concentration of muscle mass, estimated at over 60% of the animal's total, would drive the body upward and forward. The hind limbs contributed additional thrust, but it was the forelimbs that provided the majority of the launch power. In less than a second, Hatzegopteryx could propel its entire mass 2 to 3 meters above the ground, achieving a takeoff velocity of approximately 60 kilometers per hour. This rapid acceleration was critical, as it allowed the animal to clear obstacles and gain enough altitude for its wings to become fully effective. As soon as it left the ground, Hatzegopteryx would rapidly extend its wings, locking the joints into place and transforming its forelimbs from powerful levers into expansive airfoils. The wing membranes, supported by elongated fingers and reinforced with actinofibrils, would catch the air, generating lift and stabilizing the animal in flight. The wings of Hatzegopteryx were highly sophisticated. Unlike the simple skin membranes of earlier pterosaurs, these wings contained networks of actinofibrils, tiny muscle-like fibers that allowed the animal to actively adjust the shape, tension, and stiffness of the wing surface. This adaptability provided exceptional control, enabling the pterosaur to respond instantly to changes in wind speed and direction. Once airborne, Hatzegopteryx was not merely a glider. It could soar for hours on rising columns of warm air, using minimal energy to cover vast distances. Its broad wings and lightweight hollow bones made it exceptionally efficient, much like the largest modern soaring birds. When conditions demanded, it could engage in powerful, sustained flapping, reaching cruising speeds of up to 100 kilometers per hour. The combination of the quadrupedal vault and advanced wing mechanics made Hatzegopteryx one of the most formidable flyers of the Cretaceous skies. Its ability to launch vertically from a standstill, adapt its wings to turbulent air, and transition seamlessly between powered flight and soaring set it apart from all other flying animals, past or present. In mastering the quadrupedal vault, Hatzegopteryx overcame the fundamental challenges of size and gravity, transforming itself from a terrestrial predator into a true ruler of the ancient air. Over millions of years, Hateg Island was a land in constant flux, a living tapestry shaped by the restless forces of Earth itself. Its story begins in the late Cretaceous, when rising seas flooded vast tracts of Europe, isolating pockets of land as scattered islands. Hateg, once part of a sprawling continental plain, was severed from its neighbors by shallow tropical seas teeming with marine life. The island's boundaries were never fixed. Tectonic forces deep beneath the crust pushed and pulled the land, causing uplift and subsidence in slow, relentless cycles. Volcanoes erupted along distant fault lines, their ash drifting on the wind to settle over the landscape, enriching the soil and subtly altering the chemistry of lakes and rivers. Periodic earthquakes fractured bedrock, triggering landslides that reshaped the coastline and carved new valleys through the ancient forests. Climate, too, was a powerful sculptor. In some eras, Hateg basked in a humid, subtropical warmth, its forests lush and dense, watered by frequent rains and crossed by winding streams. In others, cooler, drier spells swept in, shrinking wetlands and turning some regions to open woodland or fern-dotted savanna. These shifts, though gradual, forced every resident species to adapt, migrate, or perish. Temporary land bridges would occasionally emerge as sea levels fell, linking Hateg to neighboring islands or the mainland, enabling brief bursts of migration and genetic exchange, before rising waters cut the island off once more. Rivers meandered across the terrain, sometimes overflowing their banks in seasonal floods that deposited fertile silt and created new habitats for plants and animals. Ancient lakes waxed and waned, some vanishing entirely as climate or tectonics shifted, leaving behind fossil-rich beds that would one day reveal the secrets of vanished worlds. Even the soil beneath the island's forests told a story of transformation. Layers of volcanic ash, river mud, and decaying plant matter accumulated year by year, burying the remains of creatures large and small. Over geologic time, pressure and minerals would turn these layers to stone, preserving the bones and footprints of Hateg's inhabitants for eons to come. Hateg Island was never truly stable. It was a dynamic, ever-changing world where land and sea, climate and life were locked in a perpetual dance. These environmental shifts shaped not only the landscape but the creatures themselves, driving the evolution of dwarf dinosaurs, flighted giants, and unique ecosystems found nowhere else on Earth. In this crucible of change, the stage was set for both the rise and the fall of the island's extraordinary giants. For millions of years, Hatzegopteryx reigned unchallenged over its isolated island domain, a master of the skies and the land below. Its colossal wingspan, immense power, and remarkable adaptations allowed it to thrive in an ecosystem shaped by isolation and scarcity. With no true competitors, Hatzegopteryx preyed upon the island's dwarf dinosaurs, which flourished in the unique, resource-limited environment of Hateg. This was a world finely balanced, a testament to evolutionary ingenuity, where every species was shaped by the constraints and opportunities of island life. Yet, this delicate equilibrium was shattered in an instant by a force beyond comprehension. 66 million years ago, a massive asteroid, 10 kilometers wide, tore through the atmosphere and struck the planet with cataclysmic force. Its impact site now buried beneath the Gulf of Mexico. The collision unleashed energy on a scale never before witnessed, generating a blinding fireball, shockwaves that circled the globe, and temperatures that soared far beyond anything life could endure. In the immediate aftermath, tsunamis hundreds of meters high swept across coastlines, while earthquakes fractured the land, toppling forests and reshaping continents in moments. But the true devastation unfolded in the weeks and months that followed, as the planet's atmosphere became choked with a dense shroud of dust, ash, and vaporized rock. This global veil blotted out sunlight, plunging the world into a prolonged twilight. Temperatures plummeted, and photosynthesis ground to a halt. For months, perhaps years, the sun was little more than a faint glow behind a curtain of darkness, unable to warm the land or sustain the web of life. Across the globe, plants withered and died, their energy reserves exhausted in the absence of light. Forests collapsed into lifeless husks, and the once vibrant undergrowth of Hateg Island faded to brown and grey. The collapse of plant life sent shock waves through the food chain, as herbivores found themselves with nothing to eat. On Hateg Island, dwarf dinosaurs like Magyarosaurus and Telmatosaurus wandered the barren forests, desperately searching for the last remnants of edible vegetation. Starvation swept through their ranks, decimating populations that had once thrived in the island's unique ecosystem. For Hatzegopteryx, the consequences were dire and inescapable. Its survival depended entirely on the abundance of these herbivores, and as they vanished, so too did its prospects. The very traits that had made Hatzegopteryx a dominant predator, its size, power, and specialization, now became insurmountable liabilities. With each passing day, the once mighty hunter found itself in a world growing emptier, its hunting grounds transformed into silent wastelands. The enormous caloric demands of its massive body could no longer be met, as prey became a memory and hunger gnawed relentlessly. Hatzegopteryx, built for bursts of power and flight, was now weakened by starvation, its energy reserves dwindling with each failed hunt. The forests that once echoed with the sounds of pursuit and predation became eerily quiet as the giant pterosaur staggered through a world that could no longer sustain it. In the end, Hatzegopteryx succumbed not to a rival, but to the relentless, inescapable collapse of its environment, a victim of planetary catastrophe. Alongside 75% of all species on Earth, the mighty Hatzegopteryx vanished, leaving behind only fossilized bones and the silent testimony of a world forever changed by disaster. In the present day, the story of Hatzegopteryx is far from finished. Each year, new discoveries and advanced technologies shed fresh light on this prehistoric giant, deepening our understanding while also revealing new mysteries. In laboratories and museum collections across the world, paleontologists are re-examining the fossil fragments of Hatzegopteryx using state-of-the-art imaging techniques. High-resolution CT scans peer through ancient rock, exposing the delicate internal structures of bones without damaging them. These digital reconstructions allow scientists to analyze the strength of its jaws, the density of its vertebrae, and the intricate network of air sacs that once lightened its massive frame. Biomechanical modeling has revolutionized our perspective on this pterosaur's capabilities. By simulating the stresses and forces acting on its skeleton, researchers are piecing together how Hatzegopteryx moved, hunted, and even launched itself into the air. The results are surprising. Despite its size, the giant pterosaur may have been capable of powerful quadrupedal takeoffs, springing skyward with a vault-like motion unique among flying animals. Yet, questions remain. The exact limits of its flight, the duration it could remain airborne, and the full extent of its terrestrial hunting behaviors are still debated. Recent studies have also turned to the chemistry of fossilized bones, searching for microscopic traces of ancient proteins and isotopes. These analyses offer tantalizing hints about the diet and metabolism of Hatzegopteryx, suggesting it may have been even more specialized than once thought. Some researchers propose that it preyed not only on dwarf dinosaurs, but also on large carrion, exploiting every resource in its isolated environment. The ongoing search for new fossils in the Hateg Basin continues to fuel scientific debate. Every new bone, tooth, or fragment offers potential clues about the growth, life history, and even the evolutionary origins of Hatzegopteryx. Some paleontologists speculate that undiscovered relatives may still be hidden beneath the ancient sediments, waiting to reveal how this lineage of pterosaurs evolved to such extremes. Despite these advances, Hatzegopteryx remains an enigma. Its immense size, robust skull, and unusual proportions set it apart from any other known pterosaur. The precise evolutionary pressures that shaped its anatomy, the full range of its behaviors, and the details of its extinction. These are questions that continue to challenge modern science. As researchers push the boundaries of technology and knowledge, Hatzegopteryx stands as a reminder that the prehistoric world was filled with wonders we are only beginning to comprehend. Its bones are not just relics of the past, but keys to unlocking the secrets of deep time. For now, the mystery endures, inspiring both awe and curiosity, a testament to the enduring allure of the Island of Death's greatest hunter. The extinction of Hatzegopteryx, along with every other pterosaur and non-avian dinosaur, marked the end of an era. The KPG extinction event, a sudden and devastating catastrophe, erased entire lineages from the Earth, including the giants that once ruled the skies above Hateg Island. In the aftermath, the world was transformed. The survivors, small mammals, and the ancestors of modern birds emerged into a landscape forever changed. Over millions of years, these creatures diversified, filling ecological niches left vacant by the vanished titans. Yet the legacy of Hatzegopteryx endures, not only in the bones it left behind, but in the profound impact it has had on the science of paleontology. The discovery of its fossils in the Hateg Basin of Romania challenged long-held assumptions about the limits of flight, the diversity of pterosaurs, and the dynamics of island ecosystems during the late Cretaceous. Each fossilized fragment, whether a colossal skull, a robust neck vertebra, or a hollow limb bone, offers a window into the biology of this extraordinary animal. The immense size and strength of its bones reveal adaptations for a lifestyle unlike any other pterosaur, a terrestrial apex predator stalking the dwarf dinosaurs of its island home. The painstaking work of paleontologists, carefully excavating and analyzing these remains, has illuminated the evolutionary pressures that shaped Hatzegopteryx. Isolated on Hateg Island, it evolved into a supergiant, its anatomy reflecting both the constraints and opportunities of insular life. The fossil record tells us that no flying animal since has matched the sheer scale and predatory prowess of Hatzegopteryx. Even Argentavis magnificens, the largest known flying bird, was dwarfed by the 300-kilogram mass and massive wingspan of this pterosaur. The bones of Hatzegopteryx, preserved in ancient sediments, are more than relics, they are scientific treasures. Through advanced imaging, biomechanical modeling, and comparative anatomy, researchers have reconstructed its life history, flight capabilities, and ecological role. These studies have redefined our understanding of pterosaur diversity and the evolutionary potential of vertebrates. The Hateg fossils have also provided crucial insights into the phenomenon of island gigantism and dwarfism, revealing how isolation can drive both extremes of body size. The presence of a giant predator among diminutive prey is a striking reversal of the usual order, a testament to the unpredictability of evolution. Today, the story of Hatzegopteryx continues to inspire new generations of scientists. Its fossils are displayed in museums, studied in laboratories, and featured in scientific literature, each discovery adding another piece to the puzzle of prehistoric life. The legacy of Hatzegopteryx is carved in bone, a record of a world lost to time where the boundaries of possibility were pushed to their limits. It stands as a monument to the power of evolution, the mysteries of deep time, and the enduring quest to understand the ancient past. As we unearth and study these ancient remains, we are reminded that the story of life on Earth is one of constant change, adaptation, and wonder. Hatzegopteryx, the flying monster of Hateg Island, remains one of the most extraordinary chapters in that story, a symbol of both the fragility and the resilience of life.